Making a podcast is easy.
That Groovy Scoobcast is something else.
Welcome back to the go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. I'm the worst podcast host in the world, Derek.
And I am equally as bad. Hi, I'm Shannon.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure for the regular listeners that have been keeping track of our Twitter, you'll have seen that our episode is late. We acknowledged that it would not be up Friday, and that it would be up Saturday, and instead it is coming up today, Sunday. There are reasons.
Well, first we moved Derek and his boyfriend into their new apartment, and there is no internet, so that took us a little bit to...
we took a week off just so we could focus on moving in.
Yeah.
And then my computer was running out of space, so, I was moving files onto my Dropbox, and somehow when I sat down to edit and get the episode ready for Friday, we discovered that our episodes were corrupted. Don't know how, but...
Don't know why.
It basically was entirely useless. So, this is our re-recording.
We're not happy to be re-recording.
Because we have to re-talk about an episode we did not like.
Not very much at
all. For today, we're going to be talking about an episode from Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, the second series. This is a episode that involves 3 shorts, including Close Encounter of the Worst Kind, Captain Canine Caper, and Alien Schmalien. Now, we would normally hold off on talking about the review until after we do the Mystery Machine match, but this week, I currently don't know where my Scooby-Doo trivia game is packed, so this week, the Mystery Machine match is suspended. I'm sure you're finding this episode to be really out of the ordinary and really unprofessional. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is.
It is somewhere... The Mystery Machine match is a game, and it is somewhere hidden in one of the many boxes that Derek has full of his Scooby-Doo gear, which is packed away.
I can't even begin to imagine where it is.
We're going to have to go through every box. Yeah, we're going to have to go through every box.
So there's a chance it may not even happen next week, but we'll see.
We're going to try for you guys.
Well, are you ready to start talking about these episodes again?
Yes.
I'm not excited to do so, but we will do it for our audience. Our first episode that we're talking about today is Close Encounter of the Worst Kind. I have the premise up from Scoobypedia. While on a picnic, Scrappy spots a UFO as it lands. Before long, they find out the aliens aboard are on a scavenger hunt, and they are taking everything in sight, including the Mystery Machine and even Scooby.
Dun dun dun!
They're taking everything.
They really do.
Honestly. They took people.
4 people.
Here's my question. So, they're here on Earth to do a scavenger hunt. Are other aliens elsewhere on Earth doing the same scavenger hunt?
I want to say yes. And then also, when we see the inside of their spaceship, there's a whole bunch of crap everywhere. So I feel like they've maybe been doing it on, other planets or on other places on Earth.
So another planet has a hockey stick?
Or maybe, they get Earth and another planet gets Mars and, so on and so forth.
Good luck finding a Great Dane on Mars.
Well, no, I mean, maybe they have different lists.
They're specialized?
Yeah, per planet. And then it's you guys get Earth, go find all this stuff. I don't know. The episode starts with Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy. They're on a picnic. It looks really nice. Scrappy's reading a little book about aliens, which we're finding that he's actually really fascinated with. And we'll talk about this later when we talk about Alien Schmalien. But he does say, boy, this flying saucer stuff sure is interesting. Meanwhile, Scooby is making a sandwich. He is also making Shaggy his sandwich, and he's dealing the meats and cheeses. And something that I noted is there's 3 plates on the picnic blanket, one for all 3 of them. But he only makes a sandwich for him and Shaggy. Okay, so my thought is, I think it was the last time that we watched this series, Scrappy doesn't really eat a lot. And when they went on the hike and he was like, oh, and Scooby and Shaggy were like, oh, I'm so hungry. And they were like, you guys are lame. Here, let me make some steaks. I feel like Scrappy eats on a regular basis, whereas the guys eat every 2 minutes.
So he's probably not hungry right now. Either that or...
Yeah, but then why have the plate out?
Well, in case he was hungry, but then he decided
But in case he was hungry, then Scooby should have made him the sandwich just in case.
I don't know. He doesn't love him that much.
He's a terrible guardian.
That's why he tried to kill him in 2002.
Okay. Scrappy spots the alien spaceship, and they see the aliens get off of the ship, and they basically announce that they're on a scavenger hunt, and they need to find certain items in order to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I made a list of everything that they needed in order to win this contest.
Okay.
They needed 2 Earth sandwiches, 1 Earth basket, a pair of Earthling pants, an Earth vehicle, a romantic Earth couple, a pair of ice skaters, and 1 Great Dane. Very specific.
My question is, a romantic couple, like, how do you know? Because they went to a place where, like, people are on dates. Like, you and Alex are romantic on dates, but, like, on the day-to-day, you're not that, like, gushy-gushy. So, like, how do they know what a real romantic couple is? We could steal you on a date, put you in the van, and by the time we get you home, you guys hate each other.
Well, they mistake Scooby and Shaggy as being a romantic couple, so, I mean, I don't know.
They're not very good at their job.
So the first few things that were on the list, you know, the sandwiches, the basket, the pants, the vehicle, they immediately steal. They steal Scooby and Shaggy's sandwiches, and then they steal the picnic basket. Then they take Shaggy's pants, which he does reappear with later.
Yeah.
And then they just straight up take the mystery machine. They hop in the mystery machine and they drive away.
That's Grand Theft Auto.
Why do these aliens know how to drive an Earth vehicle?
My question is, how do they know where everything is?
When they go to the movies?
Yeah, they went straight to the movie theater.
The drive-in movie theater, yeah.
Yeah, they go straight to the movie theater. They go straight to the ice rink. How do you know where all this stuff is?
Maybe they've been monitoring the Earth for a little bit before they came.
So they've been, like, studying?
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they're evidently an advanced species, which we theorize have specialized scavenger hunt lists depending on what planet they're assigned. So I don't know.
Maybe.
Something that I noted was that all 3 of the guys, Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy, they hop on the back of the mystery machine. They're just hanging on to the back of the vehicle while they're driving away, the aliens. And in the next scene, they're inside the mystery machine.
Yeah.
When did they get inside it? How long have they been inside it? And how did the aliens not notice?
Maybe the aliens were, like, getting out when they got in?
No, like, they were in it when it was driving, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Well, regardless of when they did it, though, they were already inside the vehicle once it stopped. So, like, they've evidently been in it in a while. I don't know how the aliens didn't see them.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Questions. The aliens get out and they're in search of a romantic couple. They're having a hard time finding one. We see this couple in their car, this blonde girl and a brunette guy. The girl says that the movie is boring. And in response, the guy says, "Let's go get some popcorn."
That'll fix this boring movie. Let's just slather some butter on it.
Like, how does that fix anything?
Butter fixes everything, Derek. Don't you know?
Something that I also noted about this entire scene, which was really disturbing, I did share an image of it on Twitter, was that the other cars that supposedly have, like, families and other couples in them, they're painted people. They're not drawn.
Terrifying.
They look awful.
They look terrifying. Like they're dead wax people.
Basically, like, you know, in any other Scooby-Doo episode when there's a wax museum, because they're very common in this universe,
yeah,
like the background costumes and stuff like that, like, that's what they look like. They don't look like real people. They're just wax dummies in cars.
You know, Scooby-Doo really gave me, like, a warped sense of what the world was. Like, I really thought that, like, wax museums and skull-shaped islands and rocks were going to be, like, a thing.
You're going to run into those commonly.
Like, they're really not that common.
In order to protect all the people from being kidnapped by these aliens, Scrappy devises a plan where Shaggy and Scooby are a couple. They're disguised. Scooby is the woman.
Yeah.
I noted that. And
they hop in someone's vehicle. Did
I
they
think
hop
it was
in
the
that
couple.
couple's?
Yeah.
Okay, so while the couple's going and getting their popcorn, Scooby and Shaggy hop in their car. And they're like pretending to be all lovey-dovey and gushy. It was really gross.
It'd be like you and me.
So I like that Shaggy said to Scooby, "I love you more than a triple chili cheeseburger covered in onions."
That's big for him, though.
Yum.
That sounds so gross, but like that's big for him.
While they're doing this act, Scrappy is chewing on some bubble gum.
That
and
looks like condoms.
It does. He hops in the back trunk of the car. When the aliens show up and they just kind of settle on Scooby and Shaggy, they're just like, okay, well, they're not good examples, but these will have to do.
Because there's not like 1,000 other couples sitting in their car.
But they go to use their like transporter guns that they've been using this entire episode. They're about to use it, and that's when Scrappy bursts the trunk door open, and he's like, not so fast. And he takes his gum and like sticks it on all of their guns.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to try and use it, and it like makes big bubbles, and they're all trapped in the gum.
And also Scrappy goes, not so fast. And then he gives like a monologue. He was like, you can't just be doing this and da-da-da. And then he's like, and this will devise your plan. And that's when he stuck it all on there. It was long enough that I was like, they could have zapped him and been done by now.
Scrappy doesn't really know how to handle aliens, I feel like, because he's also racist towards them.
Oh no.
Because he basically was like saying that he won't let anything happen to anyone on account of the aliens, and he'll zap them back to Mars. Did you just assume where they came from?
Okay, I want to agree with your racism, but he knows a lot about aliens. Like, we see him reading about aliens a lot. And
so
like,
you think he's educated?
I think he's somewhat educated. Enough to, like, make a guess of, like, oh, these are probably from Mars.
So just because the aliens have green skin, they're from Mars?
Maybe. But I don't know. He could be racist. Maybe he's educated. Maybe he knows his Mars aliens.
I don't know. Scooby was pretty racist towards Venus aliens last episode.
Yeah.
It's a learned behavior.
That's okay. All right. Maybe that's why he's reading so much about aliens, because he doesn't want to be racist like his Uncle Scooby. But you know, everybody has a racist uncle.
Give me a second. I'm thinking about this.
If you don't have a racist uncle, you're probably the racist uncle.
Oh no. Back to the episode. So their plan is foiled in trapping Scooby and Shaggy as the couple, but then they see the couple that we were talked about before. They're coming back, and they zap them with their transporter guns, and now they're sitting in the front of the mystery machine.
Just sitting.
They're just fine. They're not freaked out about the fact that they just teleported or that they just saw aliens. Can I just add, though, that these aliens are not threatening looking at all?
They're not, but then, like, no one is freaked out by it. Like,
just
they're just
the presence of aliens in general.
like, they're just walking around, like, not trying to hide or anything, and, like, nobody is scared.
But they're also just not scary aliens.
They're not, but if anybody with green skin that, like, looked like that, I'd be like, I'm not too sure I'm safe right now.
I mean, do you think they're maybe from planet Zither, like Xylon?
He doesn't look the same as them, though. Unless that's, like, what happens to your body
That's
when you
the
go
racist
through...
uncle in me, because I assume that they were from the same planet because they're both green.
Yeah. You're the racist uncle.
Damn. We'll talk about Xylon in just a little bit, guys. But they trap the couple in the mystery machine and they leave. Now they're going to go capture some ice skaters. They go to this ice skating rink, and Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy are soon to follow. So we see this guy and girl, they're ice skating, and Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy basically try to, like, hop in and skate and, like, make it really hard for the aliens to zap the two people. And, you know, the aliens are, like, they're moving too fast, and they're getting a little frustrated. And what exactly happened to where they captured them?
So, basically, because, like, the two were skating together and they were so, like, flawless and constantly moving, when Shaggy and Scooby hopped in, it took them off. They, like, had to slow down because then the guy was holding Scooby and Shaggy was holding the girl. Mm-hmm. And so because Shaggy was just like holding her up, the alien zapped him, and then same with the guy because they were both still.
Okay.
He like zapped him.
Okay. I did note that one of the aliens called Scrappy and Earth Shrimp.
Yeah, cute.
So that makes me think that there are extraterrestrial shrimp.
I mean, maybe on their planet they eat shrimp too.
After the aliens capture the ice skaters, they now note that there is one more item left on their list. The girl aliens...
On the back page.
Yeah, the girl alien said that it's on the back page, like the one...
Just one.
The one item
like
that
you
need
just flip it over and it
on
says
the
Great
last
Dane.
page.
I don't know.
Scooby basically tries to save himself from being captured by them by morphing his face into a donkey.
It was cute.
Adorable. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
10 out of 10, good boy.
Then they capture Scooby. They don't fall for his trick. And Shaggy and Scrappy follow them back to the alien spaceship. And like we said at the beginning of the episode, they just have a bunch of junk in a pile on this ship. So like these aren't the only things that they evidently needed. So they've been traveling and hopping all over the world evidently.
Either that or they're just extremely messy people.
Or that, who knows? The aliens are now piloting the ship. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scrappy open the back doors of the mystery machine and they find Scooby, who is frozen in a block of ice. We forgot to mention. So they like shot a hole through the ice in the ice rink and he fell into the water and froze.
Yeah.
Which that's not really how ice rinks work.
No, ice rinks are solid ice, but we'll let you have it.
So he's frozen in a block of ice, except for his head and his limbs.
I don't know why.
And then everyone else is just chilling, sitting in the mystery machine. Like, it's okay. I never liked Earth anyway.
Me.
Like, they're just all doing nothing.
They're okay with what's happening.
And they try to save them. The aliens spot them and it's like, oh my god, these Earthlings, they never give up. Well, the ones that are in the mystery machine did.
Well,
they gave up quickly.
And second off, if someone stole my dog, I'd be chasing them too.
Oh, yeah.
That's my dog. And, like, Scooby is something different. I really feel like if Scrappy was kidnapped, they may not have tried as hard. Like,
if it was Daphne that got kidnapped, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy would not have tried as hard.
It would have just been like, would she have done the same?
Would she do the same for us?
Would she do the same for us?
I will never forget that.
No. But, like, I mean, because it was Scooby, like, of course we have to go get him.
He's the main character.
But, like, 100%, I feel like if Scrappy would have gotten kidnapped, like, you could have called your sister and been like, okay, so here's what happened. We were having a picnic, and some aliens came and abducted your son.
There you go.
I'm
trying to imagine a TV show just with Shaggy and Scrappy.
I'd watch it.
I don't know how I would feel about it. Because, like, I feel like Shaggy is, like, really aware of the fact that, like, the age and maturity gap between him and Scrappy, like, he really treats him like a kid. You know, because when Scrappy at the beginning of the episode was going through the alien book, you know, Shaggy's like, silly stuff, whatever. So, like, I feel like it would just be, like, Shaggy raising a child.
It'd be interesting.
Shaggy finds a ice hockey stick, and he uses Scooby as a hockey puck. And he, like, bounces him all throughout the ship and knocks over the aliens. The aliens end up being trapped in what Scrappy calls the alien butterfly net. It is big enough to fit 3 human-sized beings inside of it. So
how big is an alien butterfly?
I'm mortified thinking about that.
I wouldn't look. Butterflies aren't that scary to me, but like I would never want to meet one that big. That's terrifying. That's bigger than me, or at least my size.
It's 3 times as big as you.
Yeah.
The aliens surrender to them like immediately once they're in this butterfly net.
They're so scared.
So why are they so scared? Like,
okay, do you remember, here's my thing. Do you remember Fairly Odd Parents?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how their powers used to be trapped by butterfly nets?
Yeah, when they were in it, their powers would like go away. They had no magic. Yeah. Okay.
So they were like, "Ooh, we got nothing. Please let us go."
They do surrender, and
they allow them to drive the mystery machine off the ship, except they've already left.
So, like, as they're halfway out of the ship, Shaggy goes, and you better get home. And they're like, oh, don't worry, we're already halfway there. And he, like, pulls off of it, and he was like, wait, did they just say they're already halfway home?
The UFO opens, and the mystery machine just drives off into space. And now it's just floating down. It doesn't indicate that it's going back to Earth. It's just going somewhere.
Shaggy gets out and, like, ties a sheet or something to it.
Oh, for a parachute, yeah.
And then he comes back in, and they're all sitting there. And then they were like, oh, well, we might as well finish our picnic.
And then the pie, like, flew out of the pan, and it, like, covered Shaggy's face.
Yeah.
The food is the only thing that's affected by the zero gravity. Everyone else is fine sitting in their seats.
Now, here's my question. Because we never see them. Did they also rescue the couples? Or are they still on the ship?
Oh, we never saw them get out of the mystery machine, so I'm going to assume they're still in the mystery machine.
But we never see them.
But we never see them get off of it either.
Okay. Fair.
So they're just chilling in the back while the three of them are just eating in the front, not minding any of them.
They don't care about anything.
I would love it if they just left them on the ship. Like, they went through all this trouble to save them, got their friend kidnapped, and then went back just to only save their friend.
Like, they just get home and they're like, oh, I knew we forgot something.
So, what did you give this episode on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
I actually gave it a 4.
I did too.
Why did you give it a 4?
It was a fun story, given that it was only 7 minutes long. I don't think that it was like a really great Scooby-Doo episode because it doesn't really have a mystery. It's not spooky. The aliens aren't scary, and they don't really come off as threatening except for the fact they have the transporter guns. But I think that the fact that they were able to accomplish this story that had really minimal, like, major issues in 7 minutes, I think that's a really good thing. I don't know. I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I'm very satisfied giving it a 4. What about you? Why do you give it a 4?
I liked it as well. It wasn't my favorite, but I feel like it wasn't rushed or it wasn't like too slow or anything. Like it was a good pace for a 7-minute episode. Because usually with the shorter episodes, everything is like crammed down your throat.
I feel like we're constantly having to like write our notes.
Yeah.
You know, because
like
half the time my handwriting is not legible when we're doing these episodes.
And so I feel like this one was like nicely paced and like we weren't like, oh my gosh, what just happened? We didn't have to pause it 1,000 times to like figure out what was going on. Like it was nicely paced. You got everything that you wanted from it and then it was done. But I hated that gravity scene. That ruined everything.
I think that I probably would have been comfortable giving it a 5 if it didn't have that last scene.
Yeah.
So are you ready to move on to Captain Canine Caper?
Sure.
I know that this one you don't like as much at all.
No. This one, the entire episode was stupid. I want to give you guys, so as we jump into it, I'm going to give you a spoiler right away.
Well, can I get on the premise first?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the premise is, again, coming from Scoobypedia for Captain Canine Caper. A TV producer hires the Fearless Detective Agency to find Captain Canine, a movie star dog, who has been kidnapped and being held for $1 million in ransom. In the meanwhile, Scooby-Doo will take his place in the TV show because he looks exactly like him.
Okay. So the episode starts out with the outside of the building. It says Fearless Detective Agency. You come in and Scooby is making Shaggy a sandwich.
Like in the last episode.
Yeah. Scooby's always feeding Shaggy. And so like everything happens, whatever, nothing big. Jonathan Johnson comes walking in and he wants to hire the detective agency.
He's the movie producer. I'm
going to give you a spoiler right now. I'm going to ruin this whole thing for you because it just pissed me off and I need you guys to know what we're going into. Jonathan Johnson is the bad guy. So the bad guy walks in and says, I need to hire you guys to find the bad guy, which is him. So he comes in and he's like, ooh, my movie star got kidnapped, being held for $1 million. And they're like, oh.
Well,
oops.
Shaggy basically says all the detectives are out to lunch. They're the only 3 that work for this company.
That actually was my favorite line in this whole thing. The only funny thing that I found in this whole thing is he's like, I need to hire some detectives. And without even skipping a beat, without looking up from his paper, he goes, yeah, they're all out to lunch.
He's not having any of this shit.
He was like, not today.
He's not working today.
No.
I will give this episode some credit because they said that Scooby looks like Captain Canine, and it actually did.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in some of these kind of cartoons where they say that they look alike, and they just don't for some reason. Like when they said that Daphne looked like the Lady Vampire of the Bay.
Because they both had red hair.
But that's it. Like their faces look nothing alike.
Yeah.
This time they actually are basically using the same model for the Scooby-Doo and Captain Canine characters, which I appreciated.
Yes.
The producer, Jonathan Johnson, I love his name. He basically is astonished by how much Scooby looks like his client. And he's like, okay, so we'll have Scooby pretend to be Captain Canine while the rest of you are looking for the real one. So they bring the three of them onto the movie set, and they're filming some kind of movie that involves a gold statue and a gorilla. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be some kind of like an adventure movie.
I thought it was going to kind of be like Indiana Jones.
Okay, that's kind of what I got the impression of too.
I do want to note that the TV studio that they're recording at's name is TV Studio.
It didn't have a name?
No.
I didn't even notice that.
TV Studio.
I also like that this TV studio doesn't have any other employees. We never see a single other character in this episode.
The only other thing that we hear is we hear a director yell, action!
I want to believe that was just Jonathan Johnson. And then Jonathan Johnson goes and pretends to be the red.
Gets dressed and like runs over. Yeah.
He dresses up in his villain costume. I like that even though he hired the detectives, he's dressed up as the villain and then is talking to himself and is like saying, I'm going to stop them and I'm not going to let this movie be finished. That's not your motive here. Your motive is to, use the detective agency evidently to look less guilty, because you're trying to cooperate with the authorities.
Yeah.
And, then get the ransom money once Captain Canine is returned. Your goal isn't to cancel the movie.
No.
Wouldn't that be losing you money? You're producing this movie.
Yeah. He's invested the money. So if it goes under, you're kind of screwed.
The $1 million is probably just going to offset the money you put in.
Yeah. You're not really going to make anything.
But anyway, Shaggy is supposed to be in this gorilla costume that is going to antagonize Scooby's character as Captain Canine.
And for some reason, they have a real gorilla on set also.
I don't understand that whatsoever.
No.
There's just a real gorilla, and then evidently someone's supposed to be dressed up as a gorilla. Is that supposed to be a stunt double?
Maybe as the close-up scenes will be fake, but then if it's far away.
I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to get a gorilla to cooperate on a movie set like this.
No, I mean sometimes there are set animals, you see lions and stuff in movies. They can do it, but it's just pointless if you're having somebody in a costume.
And they're identical, too.
Yeah.
You're not losing anything by having Shaggy in the gorilla costume. Yeah. In fact, you'd probably save you more money.
Mm-hmm. Probably. Those animals, I'm sure, are expensive.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how it happened, but I know that the villain opened the cage to the real gorilla, and the real gorilla got out. Did the real gorilla scare Shaggy into the cage? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay. So Shaggy, he panics, he goes into the cage, and he accidentally locks himself in.
No. The villain comes up behind Shaggy and shuts and locks him in and then runs away.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah.
I like that Shaggy reaches off screen and grabs something to pick the lock.
It looks like he was reaching for a pocket, but his hand is through and he grabs it off the ground maybe without bending down. I don't know.
Even if it did look like he was reaching into a pocket, he's in a gorilla costume.
There's no
pockets. The costume
pockets.
does not have pockets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Meanwhile, the real gorilla is now arguing with Scooby over the statue that is part of this movie story. And then Shaggy, who has now released himself from the cage, just taps Scooby's shoulder, and Scooby turns around and he's like, "Hi, Raggy." And Shaggy's just standing there smiling, all calm.
He's not wrestling a gorilla or anything.
That's not a big deal. So Scooby just continues to wrestle with the gorilla, and then I think the gorilla did manage to get the statue and he threw it. And now Scooby and Shaggy are cowering.
They walk back into this like coconut tree that's on the set.
And then Scrappy comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, that's not in the script. And like grabs the tree and starts shaking it. And I think the other two were like, oh, okay, I get what he's doing. So they ran on the other side of the tree and start shaking it as well. And they violently shake this tree until it...
They violently shake the tree.
It was violent.
The coconuts fall out and it knocks out the gorilla.
Yeah. So the gorilla's KO.
And then the villain's like just watching from behind this exhibit. And he like growls about how angry he is at the gorilla for being a incompetent ape or something like that. It's like, was he really part of your plan?
Is that what you based this all off of?
A gorilla?
You hired an agency to come here so that you could kill them with a gorilla? You really didn't think this through, Jonathan Johnson.
He does try to commit murder later, though, too. So, I mean, this isn't his only method.
Yeah.
So, he chases them to this other part of the TV studio where they, like, go into a body of water and they, like, hop on a boat, they sail in, and then the villain hops in another boat, follows them, and they're, like, looking to get away, and the villain's like, oh, you won't be able to. And there's, like, this lever that's sticking out of the water. Why is the lever in the middle of the lake? Wouldn't that make a little bit more sense to have, like, by the director's chair or by another, like, mechanic's chair off screen?
I have no idea.
Like, what if you're filming the set? What if you're filming the movie and you just happen to see this lever sticking out of the water?
Edit. Post-editing.
The lever activates a mechanical shark, which pops up out of the water and it devours Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy.
So Scooby uses his tail and like wedges it between the teeth of the shark and like runs his tail over to the lever.
Because okay.
Yeah.
It just stretches across the water.
And he goes to pull the lever to open the mouth and he breaks the lever off. And so then the shark like freaks out, flies forward and breaks.
Well, it crashes into the shore.
Yes. I need to say one thing, because Jaws is my favorite movie. The Jaws shark I looked up, this shark in this episode was about the same size. I'm going to say it looked similar. They destroyed a shark that was $150,000.
The TV studio doesn't care. That's fine.
Like, okay.
It'll be put on the Fearless Detective Agency's insurance.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would hate to be that insurance company.
They get out of the shark, and now Scooby is like catching a whiff of Captain Canine, I'm thinking? Or is he following the villain?
Some scent.
He has a scent, and he's following it.
Yes.
And while he's following it, I like that Scrappy's like holding a magnifying glass over his eye, as if that's like empowering his sniffing power.
I can smell better when I can see better.
They walk up to this clock tower, and Scooby, just no effort.
He's in the zone.
He walks up the side of the building.
Gets almost to the top.
And that's when Shaggy's just like, Scooby, and like breaks his focus, and now he falls. Shaggy, he was almost up there.
Like, you could have just let him go.
He would have been fine. But now that he foiled the plan, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy now have to hop on a scaffolding and use it to climb all the way up to the top of the clock tower.
Now, my downfall with this part. There's a flagpole right below the actual clock part of the tower. And so as the scaffolding is coming up, I'm thinking, how are they going to get around this flagpole, right?
It would go like right through the middle of the scaffolding.
Yeah. And so they cut the screen off and move to a different part right as they get to the flagpole. And when they cut to the different scene, or like different...
Now they're just above it.
They're
and
above
it.
it.
Matter.
And so it doesn't matter anymore. They get all the way up to like the 12 part
on
of
the clock face, yeah. And that's when the villain opens like a window behind the 12, which I don't think that's how these clock faces work.
I don't know for sure, so I don't want to say anything, but like the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9 all opened, and I don't know if that's a real thing or not. I'm not a clock expert.
I don't think it is.
I feel like it's not, but at the same time it might make sense. Like to clean or something, you know? I don't know.
That's why they have the scaffolding.
That's true. I don't know.
Anyway, he opens the window to the 12, and then uses a pair of scissors. No, or was it a saw?
Yeah. No, the saw was second.
Okay, so he uses scissors to cut the rope that was holding up the scaffolding. So, attempted murder.
So then they all fall, and they land on said flagpole, which now is coming into play.
The flagpole is right below the 6. So the villain now comes downstairs to the 6.
Very quickly, by the way.
Opens the window, and now has a saw. And uses the saw to cut through a metal flagpole. I don't like it.
No. So then they all fall even further onto a
awning. Yeah, they fall on an awning.
Which
and
we never saw that awning before, by the way.
But they land on it, and it bounces them all the way back up into the building.
Yep, all the way past the clock part, into a window, and onto the top floor, where Captain Canine is tied up.
The villain is like, talking about, oh, he's going to be rich soon and da-da-da. And, the three guys just pop up and they're like, no way. And he tried to run away, didn't he? The villain?
I think so. And Scooby grabbed him or something.
I think, no, you know what? Because Scooby and Captain Canine came face to face and they're like, whoa, they look exactly alike.
We're the same.
And then they tried to untie him. And I think it was Scooby who ended up, I don't know if he tackled the villain or something, but they ended up getting caught in the gears of the clock tower.
Which would 100% kill you and break every bone in your body.
But it didn't. They end up outside of the clock tower somehow. And now they're just... I don't really know. I don't even think I took notes about this part because...
It all happened so quick.
It was really quick. I do know that Shaggy and Scrappy were a little confused as to which one of them, Scooby or Captain Canine, were actually confronting the villain, but it was Scooby, fun fact. Captain Canine pops up out of the 3 part of the clock while they're sticking out of the 9, and it's like, I'm Captain Canine, so that must be, and they're like, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. They unmask the villain, and it's Jonathan Johnson. And like you said at the beginning of the episode, this makes no fucking sense.
Because my thing is, if you really wanted the money, just hang out. You're all the way in this clock tower, just hanging out. Literally, nobody would second guess. Nobody would think, let's go check this clock tower for, nobody's going to look there.
I thought the clock tower was on set.
I don't know, but
was he expecting the movie studio to pay the money?
I guess, honestly, it'd be whoever wants him back. Somebody could kidnap me and be like, I want $1 million for her return. And my parents would be like, well, oh fucking well, I guess she's gone. And if you wanted me back, you'd have to be like, oh, well, I guess I'll fess up the money.
Where am I going to get $1 million?
I don't know. I'm probably not worth that, to be honest. So it's okay. Just wait, I'll go on sale. I don't know.
If it's anything more than $100, Shannon,
we're fucked.
I need to find a new
co-host
for this podcast. But yeah, I was really confused when we first watched this episode because I'm like, wait a minute. So he hired the detective agency to investigate himself? It just did not make sense. And the pacing was really bad. As compared to Close Encounter of the Worst Kind, this episode had terrible pacing.
Yeah.
And because of the confusion in the villain's motives, and the villain, I guess, looked fine. He just had a mask, a hood, and he had a red cape. It wasn't anything special.
He kind of looked like Zorro.
Kind of.
An evil Zorro.
Yeah. I guess that's a good comparison, but it wasn't special.
No.
The story wasn't special. The only thing I liked was that they actually made Captain Canine look like Scooby. So I am officially giving this episode a 1 on the Scooby Snackometer.
And surprise, surprise, I agree with you.
We seem to be in really good streaks of, agreeing on these episodes right now.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. I did not like this episode.
No, the pacing was bad. The motive was confusing. There was no point in this episode at all, honestly.
It just felt like a really isolated story. There wasn't really any other people either.
Yeah.
They didn't introduce a different suspect. There was no red herring suspect.
No.
Or just anybody that you could have possibly just thought, oh, maybe they are the villain. Who knows? But no, it was just Jonathan Johnson.
And even so, had they literally just added 2 extra people, had we just seen some crew members in the background on the set, or just painted people in cars, like something to indicate
there wasn't anybody.
There wasn't. It was just a complete ghost town this entire time. You know, like when we were first zooming in on that thing, like had we just seen like people on the street or something like that, like something extra. Just give me a little. Yeah,
because even the city that the detective agency is operating out of had no people.
No, there was nobody ever. And like, had we had one other suspect,
maybe I would have liked it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, there was no reason for Jonathan Johnson. Like, had a police officer showed up to the detective agency and been like, here's what's going on, and maybe Jonathan Johnson was with the police officer, then I could give it some leeway. But it was like, honestly, there was no reason for Jonathan Johnson to be like, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Come catch me. Like, I don't.
Didn't like it, will not return to it.
No.
So you ready to talk about Alien Schmalien?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we weren't originally going to do it this way when we first mapped out how we were going to review episodes on this podcast. We weren't going to review Yabba-Doo episodes in sequence. We were going to save them for a special topics episode, but we didn't catch that when we told you guys we would review Alien Schmalien last episode. So now it is part of our sequence because I don't like to be inconsistent.
Which is funny when you listen to our podcast.
I know. So we are going to be reviewing the Scrappy-Doo and Yabba-Doo episodes. They were another segment in the Scooby-Doo Puppy Hour segment that the second Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show fell under. Mm-hmm. It's really complicated, but
it was a weird thing that they did with these seasons.
I don't know. It's all jumbled up, but we are going to review these. So Alien Schmalien, we are first introduced to Yabba-Doo and Deputy Dusty. I want to give you guys a little bit of backstory on these characters before I delve into the premise. So Yabba-Doo is Scooby-Doo's brother. He is a white Great Dane. He wears a kind of like a cowboy style hat, and he has a red bandana. He has a little bit of a higher pitched voice than Scooby, and he is actually really brave and smart compared to Scooby. He's not as goofy either.
Yeah, no offense to Scooby, but I love Yabba-Doo.
Yeah. I think he's a cool character. I haven't seen a lot of him.
I want more of him.
Okay.
Well, I want a whole, you know how the whole franchise is Scooby-Doo. I want a whole Yabba-Doo franchise. Well, where is that, Warner Brothers?
There are multiple Yabba-Doo episodes.
No, I want its own series.
So it's just a completely separate series.
Yeah.
So even no Scrappy-Doo in it.
We'll get into that.
Okay. Well, then Deputy Dusty, he is a sheriff, and he owns Yabba-Doo. He claims to be brave, but he's not. He's kind of like Shaggy in a way.
Yeah, he's like Shaggy.
And that's really all there is to him. I don't really like him as much as I like Yabba-Doo.
Yeah.
So for Alien Schmalien, the premise, again, is coming from Scoobypedia. While stargazing, Scrappy notices a spaceship, but he's not the only one. Dr. Bleak and Hugo from the local circus notice it too, and want to put the alien on the ship into their show. It's up to the guys to help out Xylon, the alien, before he's the main attraction. So overall, what were your thoughts on this episode?
I actually really liked it. I do like Yabba-Doo. There were some things that I want to talk about that I think would have been really cool. Mm-hmm. But no, I liked the episode.
Okay. I will save my thoughts, I guess, for the end.
Which means you didn't like it.
So the episode begins with Scrappy, who is stargazing. He's looking out the window with his telescope, and Yabba-Doo, he's kind of encouraging Scrappy's curiosity as opposed to Shaggy, who kind of just makes fun of him.
So that's what I wanted to talk about first.
Okay.
I think that Yabba-Doo would have been absolutely fantastic for Scrappy, rather than where Scooby and Shaggy run away from the monsters and they don't really encourage him on everything. Even in, the Strange Encounters of the Worst Kind, he was sitting there reading the Alien comic book and they were making sandwiches. Most often when you see an episode, Scrappy's kind of doing his own thing and then something happens and the three of them have to come together. But in this episode, you straight up, it starts off with them looking outside and Yabba being oh, do you see any aliens? He's
participating.
Yeah, he's participating in his life. He's encouraging him to do things that he likes.
He's kind of humoring him too.
Yeah.
I don't think Yabba necessarily
believes in it. Yeah, because like even when the alien spaceship crashes and Yabba's like, all right, yeah, have fun, like go find him. Like he really doesn't think he's gonna come back with an alien. I don't think. Maybe he does, but he's just kind of like, all right, yeah, have fun, like go exploring, go do your thing. Like he's so encouraging for Scrappy, and like I want to see like an alternate universe where his mom sent him to Yabba instead of Scooby.
Well, I'm wondering, like in timeline sense, when is Scrappy spending time with Uncle Yabba as opposed to Uncle Scooby?
I honestly, like, I feel like maybe, like, he just kind of went and spent a weekend with his other uncle. Like, I think, you know how, like, you would go, like, see your aunts and uncles at a different time, and, like, you're still with your parents, but, like, he's still living with Scooby, but maybe Yabba was like, oh, let me have him for a weekend. I miss my nephew.
I don't know. Timeline's a little jumbled, but yeah, we'll leave that be, because Yabba-Doo is a really interesting series on its own. So, yeah, Scrappy does spot a UFO. It crashes in the desert, and like the premise said, he isn't the only one. So there's these circus people nearby who also see the crash, and they want to go capture the alien and use it as a main attraction in order to, you know, boost sales and attendance at the circus. Scrappy gets to the UFO, and Xylon pops out of the UFO, and the first thing he says to Scrappy is, "Flying spaceship is easy, landing is something else." Why are you allowed to fly this UFO if you can't land it?
And, like, why are you so casual just talking to a dog?
I don't feel like I would have been this casual if I just crashed my car because I didn't know how to use the brakes and park.
And, like, a dog... and, like, if a dog came and rescued you and you'd be like, that's really hard to do.
That'd be like if I don't know how to park, I don't know how to use my brakes, so I crash into a tree. I survive, I come out of the car crash, I look at a squirrel, and I go, driving a car is easy, parking is something else.
And the squirrel's just looking at you like, fuck, what?
But, like, seriously, this alien just crashed his ship on a planet that really should not have the technology to be able to fix it, but, you know, Uncle Yabba can fix anything, according to Scrappy.
With a hammer, yeah.
Xylon is from planet Zither. That's never expanded upon.
Just, there's a planet out there named Zither.
And that's where he's from.
Yep.
He's really friendly, I will say.
Oh, yeah. They have, like, their own little handshake right off the bat.
He kind of has a really weird, like, shape to him. Like, he, you know, he has normal arms and legs like a human, but, like, his head shape's a little round and
don't be rude to him.
No, I'm just describing him because the aliens in the other episode we reviewed, like, were basically humans, but just with green skin.
Yeah.
Kinda, you know? This one, I noticed that neither of them, the aliens in the other episode or this one, had noses.
Yeah, aliens don't breathe.
Okay. So the alien basically asks Scrappy if there's like a UFO flying saucer repair shop anywhere nearby. Yeah, it's right behind my apartment.
Yeah, it's right here. I live in it with my uncle.
Who can fix anything. Scrappy does bring Xylon back to their house. And something that I noted, because, again, we're having to rewatch these episodes again because my audio files were corrupted. Something that we didn't notice the first time we reviewed and watched these episodes was that when Scrappy and Xylon return to the house, Yabba-Doo and Deputy Dusty are just watching the TV. And the TV's just static. Like, there's nothing on the TV. But they're both just contently watching the static.
It happens.
Scrappy introduces Xylon to them, and Yabba is, like, instantly on board. He's just like, oh, hi, nice to meet ya. Deputy Dusty, on the other hand, he, like, is really skeptical, and he's like, how do you know he's a real alien? Xylon says that he's going to convince the non-believers. So he levitates them.
Out of their skin.
Well, no, not out of their skin. I feel like you took a lot more offense to this scene than I did. They made Dusty, like, out of his clothes, so he's just floating in his underwear. And Yabba is floating without all his fur on, so his fur is just...
They skinned him.
Then he goes to, you know, put them down because now they believe him. And when he does, they land in the different outfits. So now Dusty is just covered in Yabba's fur.
It was actually, like, really terrifying to see.
Because then Yabba's just wearing Dusty's clothes. And then he goes, oh, I need more practice. Practicing what? Levitating people or convincing them?
We're pulling them out of their skin.
I guess that's just something that he needs to know, including learning how to land his flying saucer.
He's got a lot to learn.
Evidently, maybe he's like a teenager.
Why did his parents let him leave the house?
Leave the planet.
Leave the planet.
In this scene, like a hatch opens from the ceiling and a rope or like ropes come down to like try and capture Xylon. It's Dr. Bleak and Hugo standing on top of their house trying to capture this alien.
But Yabba like sees it and like shoves Xylon so much harder than necessary.
He was trying to protect him.
He shoved him.
And Hugo, he makes a comment up above that like he's grabbing everything except the kitchen sink.
And then he pulled up the kitchen sink.
With Yabba in it.
Yeah.
And it's full with water. And Dusty and Xylon, they both have nets. And they're like about to capture the two of them. And they're just standing there for a long time while everyone else is just talking. And then right when they run out of the way, they throw the nets on them. Like, what were you doing?
They had to figure out what they needed to do.
So after that scene, they're now heading into town. Why were they heading into town? Was there a reason?
I don't remember.
I really don't remember. It was like, did Yabba need tools or something? I thought that he already had tools.
Maybe it was something to do with the kidnapping. Maybe they were looking for the kidnappers because they ran away.
I don't know, because they didn't succeed in capturing Xylon.
I don't know.
Whatever the case, they go into town and they disguise Xylon in like a cowboy outfit.
It was great.
He looks silly. Scrappy exclaims that it was such a great idea on Yabba's part.
So they split up.
Was it Yabba and Scrappy that went away?
And Dusty and the alien are staying put. I don't know. And so Hugo comes up, the big strong man.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You seen a short, weird-looking alien with green skin and legs?"
I mean, maybe.
I'd be rude, but yeah. Yeah, I have, actually. And so Zargon goes to,
Xylon.
like...
Zargon.
I don't fucking know what his name is. So Xylon is like, "Who are you calling?" And like
he
Dusty,
was offended.
Dusty like covers his mouth and is like, "Nope, no alien here." Like
I didn't notice that in the first watch.
yeah, he got real mad. It's the teenage angst.
Something I noted about Hugo is the scruff of his beard. It was really like weirdly drawn.
It looked so weird.
It was just an odd way that they drew his face. But I liked that Hugo didn't believe Deputy Dusty and like he called him a liar, and he got so mad about him being a liar.
He told him, "You better look out because I got a habit of squishing liars."
I don't know if he just got lied to in his childhood. Like, I don't want to...
I asked for a pony, and I got a horse, and I squished liars.
I'm trying to imagine the day that his parents broke to him that Santa wasn't real.
That's probably what it is.
After he, like, says that he, doesn't like liars, he takes, like, a metal gutter...
Yeah.
And wraps it around Deputy Dusty and Xylon. And I think also Yabba. I think at this point Yabba's back too. No, they grabbed Xylon. Yeah, because remember he grabbed Xylon with Dr. Bleak and then tied Scrappy, Yabba, and Dusty in it. Yeah, that's right. That's what happened.
So then they're like, "Oh no, how are we going to get out of this?" And Yabba goes, "If you got the chili snacks, I got a way out." And they were like, "Oh yeah, it's in my shirt pocket or whatever." So he grabs one out. Chili snacks equals fire breathing.
Yeah, he instantly starts blowing fire and it melts the gutter and they escape.
And that's why, like, I feel like there's a backstory with chili snacks. Like, that's why I want a whole separate series of just Yabba. Because I'm assuming Scooby snacks equals, like, bravery and chili snacks equals fire breath. And maybe it affects that entire Scooby family.
Wait, maybe chili snacks are one of the superpower Scooby snacks from Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue. It's all connected.
I mean, we've played with that before.
Well, we'll expand upon this. I can't wait.
Okay.
So Dr. Bleak and Hugo, they're unveiling Xylon at their circus that night.
With like 6 people.
They have 6 audience members. Like, no wonder they want to get Xylon. They need the money.
we figure out just how smart Yabba is. He goes, because they're like, oh no, we're too late. What's going to happen? And Yabba's like, well, we can always make them believe that that's not the only alien and then make them believe that the aliens are fake.
So they all dress up like Xylon, and they did a good job.
They did. Okay, so here's my thought. I want your opinion on it. Because you know how, like, when they came back with Xylon in the beginning of the episode, and Yabba was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Do you think that Yabba had those costumes put aside and, like, of that specific alien, and then had, like, asked somebody to dress up as an alien to, like, make Scrappy's day?
So you think Xylon's not even real?
No. I think Xylon... I don't know, because here's my thought. Because, like, he just happens to have these costumes that look exactly like him, right? And so I'm thinking, like, maybe he asked one of the town members to get in that costume. And maybe it is a real alien. Maybe, like, he's met this alien before or something. But, like, maybe he was trying to make his nephew's day and, like, meet a real alien. But then a real alien actually crashed. And that's why, like, when he first met him, he was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Like, you must be a real alien.
I like the idea more that the alien's not even real.
That Xylon's not even real. Just
Xylon's
a magician.
not even a real alien. Oh my god.
But you know what I mean? Like, doesn't that make sense? Because he just so happens to have 3 costumes that look exactly like Xylon.
I want to believe that... Yeah, I want to believe that he set up someone as dressed up as Xylon.
Yeah. Or something.
Yeah.
Because, like, he is a good uncle. And like we said, like, he really is, like, trying to make, like, Scrappy happy and, like...
He encourages his curiosity, which I like.
And so, like, if... Like, what would be more accepting of your curiosity than, like, actually meeting a real alien? Like, that'd be the equivalent of, like, you know, your parents call, like, a Disney princess for your birthday.
Mm-hmm. I like that when they went on stage and were just like, no, that's not the only one. We're here too. And I like that Dr. Bleak accused them of being imposters. Like, how do you know?
I know, right? Like,
like, what if they actually are, like, Xylon's parents and they're back to save him? Like, how do you know this?
Like, I heard you were fucking with my kid. You better give him back. They all take off their masks to expose the fact that...
Xylon's not real.
That Xylon's not real.
Which now we know he's not, but...
And so all the audience members are like, boo, you know, never coming back here again. And, like, their circus is definitely getting shut down now. And they all run off stage, and then Dr. Bleak and Hugo chase after him. And so they get to, like, this pole, and they were like, oh no, there's no way out. And Xylon's like, except for up. And they all start floating up to the tightrope. And apparently, Yabba knows how to walk a tightrope.
Yabba's a really, like, all-around very talented person.
He is like Shaggy, where it's like, when we need something, he can do it.
Yeah, because Shaggy knows ventriloquism. He is a gymnast.
High jumper, yep.
I don't know. I'm more impressed with Yabba, though.
Oh, definitely. He pulls it off better.
A lot of antics happen on the tightrope. I don't want to go into all of it. But ultimately what happens is Dr. Bleak and Hugo end up being dropped in the lion's cage.
Yeah.
We don't see them get captured or anything like that again, so I'm going to assume the lion ate them.
I'm going to assume that only because, like, at one point, Dr. Bleak goes, okay, we surrender, but shh, don't wake the lion. And then they're like, ah, ha, 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 and they walk away or whatever happens. They start yelling very
I don't
loudly.
remember this.
Like, they were, like, because I think that's
what an asshole.
Like, they were like, ah, ha, ha, or whatever, because that's when Xylon was like, not to be a party pooper. And I was waiting for him to be like, I'm just not really down for murder.
No, he just leaves them in the lion cage.
Because he was like, not to be a party pooper, but I really have to get home. And so then they, like, went and hammered the spaceship.
Yeah, so Yabba is fixing the flying saucer by just using a hammer and just smacking it. It makes it work.
It works. It's a magic hammer.
The alien hops in the flying saucer and he's like, I'll never forget you. You only knew him for like 20 minutes.
I'll never forget you.
And he flies off. And while he's flying off, he spells out Yippity Yabba-Doo with the exhaust.
Which, spoiler alert, is Yabba-Doo's sign-off.
That's basically his equivalent to Scooby-Doo. And that's...
the end.
That's basically the end, yeah. So for this episode, what did you give it on the Scooby Snackometer?
Okay, so I did like the episode, and I think I liked it more because I was putting my own thoughts and my own conspiracies in it. So that made it better for me.
Okay.
As I started rewriting the script in my head, it became better. You know, just like with, like, I thought that Yabba and Scrappy were really good mix. I liked just all of that stuff. So I gave it a 5. It still wasn't my very favorite, but I would watch more of it.
Okay. I get it. And we will be watching more Yabba-Doo episodes now that we've set this precedent.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly, but it is what it is. I actually gave this episode a 3.
Okay.
I'm kind of trying to look at these episodes a little differently than a normal Scooby-Doo episode, just because I know they're not mystery solving. They're like on adventures.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, the other episodes are kind of like that too in this same series. So I kind of already have that mindset. But Yabba-Doo's not a mystery solver. He works for the law. He's law enforcement. And he does adventures in the West. My 3 kind of goes off the fact that the pacing for this story was really similarly bad, like it was in the Captain Canine Caper episode. I just had a hard time keeping up with the story. Like, I don't know why they went into town with the alien. I didn't really find the villains, like, I'm not sure if the villains are supposed to be recurring villains or if they're just one-offs. You know what I mean? And aside from that, I feel like the characters are still kind of templated off of Scooby and Shaggy.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting used to that as well. I think that they made Yabba a lot more unique as a character as compared to Deputy Dusty. Like, I feel like Deputy Dusty is kind of just like Shaggy, but with glasses and a hat.
And like a lot stupider.
That too. And he's whinier.
Yeah.
I don't like Dusty personally.
No.
He's not a character I like in this
No.
show. Yabba I do like. And I
like,
think
if it was just the Yabba show, I'd be fine.
And I think he has, like what you said, and you've been saying like through this entire episode, he does have a lot better of a dynamic with Scrappy than Scooby does. I actually like the two playing off of each other as characters as opposed to them. And I think it actually makes me like Scrappy more.
Yes. 100%.
Like, I think I like Scrappy more in this as opposed to when he's solving mysteries with Mystery Inc.
And mainly just, in my opinion, I think that I like Scrappy more just because in this case, he's more of an actual person. Like, we get to see him as a kid, as, you know, somebody that is with his uncle learning, and like, he's a real person, rather than like when he's with the gang, he's like really snotty. Like, the line that we always love and use is like, would Daphne do the same? Like, he's really like not invested in that group at all, and he's just
well,
kind
it's
of
even
there.
weird in other episodes where like when Fred and Velma aren't around and it's like them and Daphne, and he kind of becomes more of a leadership role character.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
No,
I
it's
don't
weird.
like Scrappy being a leader. I think Yabba really grounds being the leader in their group, and I think that works for them. I thought the story was funny, but like I said, the pacing just kind of ruined it for me a little bit, and I'm hoping that there will be better ones. So for now, I'm just going to give it a 3.
Okay.
Averaging out all of our scores together between these 3 episodes and our 3 individual scores, that Groovy Scoobcast officially gives this trio, being Close Encounters of the Worst Kind, Captain Canine Caper, and Alien Schmalien, a 3 out of 10. Is what it is.
It happens. You know what, honestly, like, it would have gotten a better rating, but just Captain Canine ruined it.
That ruined it for me. I did not like that episode.
No, and it really, like, it set us in a bad mood going into the next episode and, like, just kind of doing whatever. Like, it didn't set us up for good.
So, are you ready for the fun fact of the week?
Of course.
Well, I did some research on Yabba-Doo and Deputy Dusty this week, and I discovered something kind of funny. So, Yabba-Doo is voiced by Don Messick, who is the same voice as Scooby.
Oh.
Deputy Dusty, on the other hand, I have guessed that he would be Casey Kasem, Shaggy's voice, but he's actually Frank Welker, who's Fred.
Oh. How weird.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Like, comparing Fred to Dusty is strange.
Yeah.
I don't even like to imagine them being in the same universe.
No.
But yeah, that's just something kind of interesting I noticed about the two characters.
Yeah, how weird. How fun.
So next week, we will be watching an episode from the new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show. This will be returning to the format where we watch 2 10-minute long episodes as opposed to 1 22-minute long or 3 7-minute long episodes. Daphne will be returning to the story.
Finally.
So are you ready to randomize our next episode?
Of course.
Okay.
Next week, we will be watching Scooby the Barbarian and No Sharking Zone.
For the episode Scooby the Barbarian, this premise is coming from Scoobypedia. The kids are in Norway to find out what happened to Professor Busby, the archaeologist, who was studying the old Viking ruins. It seems that some Vikings have come back and kidnapped him, but before too long, Daphne and Scrappy are kidnapped too, and Shaggy and Scooby have to save them. And then for No Sharking Zone, the kids head to the island of Skaruba to see Prince Ruba and take pictures of the surfing festival and legendary surfer Cowabunga Carlyle. But while there, they hear of the lost treasure of Skaruba and the great white shark and seaweed monster who are protecting it.
Ew.
I can already tell based on that premise, I'm gonna fucking hate No Sharking Zone.
A shark and a seaweed monster?
Yeah.
Sounds like...
And a person who's evidently named Cowabunga.
Cowabunga.
I hate it.
He was born to surf. That's his movie rights. I made a movie title for you guys.
So if you guys want to talk to us online about the 3 episodes we reviewed today, or the episodes we're going to be reviewing next week, you can find us on Twitter at Groovy Scoobcast, or you can contact us by emailing us at thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com.
You can also check out our website, thatgroovyscoobcast.com.
And of course, you can also find us on all of our usual platforms. But I don't think I actually announced it on the podcast. I think I only said it on Twitter. If you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, we're actually now on Spotify.
Woohoo!
Yay! And with that, we hope that you enjoyed That Groovy Scoobcast.
Come back next week for Scooby Snack Fill Time.
Bye, guys!
Bye!